What's going on, you guys? My name is Zach Hartley, and in this video I want to talk about how much money can you make if you buy an RV and rent it out. Now, I'm currently in Vancouver, British Columbia right now, and I've actually rented an RV. Maybe not an RV, it's actually an ambulance. It's a converted camper van ambulance, and in this video I want to talk about what are the numbers behind it, what is the experience like, and is it worth it for me to go out, spend some money, buy an RV, rent it out when I'm not using it, and then I've got it there for any trips that I want to take. In this video, I'm going to give you all the numbers, I'm going to give you my analysis, and at the end, I'm going to tell you what I plan to do. So if you get any value out of this video, remember to click that like and subscribe button. And let's go take a look at the ambulance. Okay, so this is what the ambulance looks like from the outside. It's basically your standard kind of, it says Duramax diesel on it. Basically, your pretty standard and typical ambulance. And so I've got all the doors open right now. You've got your door here with a couple of camper chairs and then a nice big step up. And they've left the actual like ambulance personnel chair in here, and everything is still in here except they've kind of redone it with a microwave and a fridge, but all of the shelving and the cabinetry is still in here. All of the nets and everything is still in here. It's just done up a little bit differently. And so this is what it looks like from the back. As you can see, we've got the main chair there and then a bench on the right side with my suitcase, backpack, and shoes. And then that bed actually folds down and it basically lays out to the entire width all the way to the fridge there, and you can lay down and take a good night's rest. And then all the windows cover up, and it is quite literally like full-on ambulance doors, and it even sounds like an ambulance. It's kind of cool, and all the lights on the outside work. You can control them from a remote control. And then you get inside, and it's actually a pretty good setup. You got all that room on the inside, and then now, instead of renting a hotel and getting a car, this is just kind of your one-stop shop, and you got everything you need all the way back. So kind of a cool, interesting application. I talked to the guy that I rented it out from, and he said he paid about $8,000 for the ambulance, and he did about $4,000 in renovations to it. And I'm paying about $115 per night for the ambulance, plus roadside assistance and insurance, I think. So we're going to go through all the numbers here shortly, but I just wanted to give you a run through of what I rented. So quite an interesting application. And now what I want to do is I rented this to try and figure out, is it worth it for me to buy one or something similar, maybe something a little bit nicer and bigger? Is it worth it to buy it and rent it out so that when I want to go on a trip, it's there, but when I'm not on a trip, it's making money for me? We'll do the numbers here real quick. Okay guys, so now that you've seen the ambulance, let's start talking about the business model a little bit. So once these guys have their RV or their camper or whatever they want to rent out, there's two different platforms that I have found that most people use to rent them out. The first one is called Rvezy and the second one is called Outdoorsy. Now, they're fairly similar platforms, however the insurance policies differ just a little bit, but basically you go on there, you list your RV or your camper just like you do an Airbnb property, and then somebody picks it up and they rent it out. Now Rvezy and Outdoorsy take somewhere between 20 and 30% of whatever you rent it for, so they take that fee, but they also provide roadside assistance as well as insurance for whoever rents it. And so I don't know what the claims process is like. I don't know what it's like to get your unit fixed if something happens, but both of them do have a plan and a strategy in place in that event. Now, when it comes to what kind of camper or RV you can rent, it's pretty wide ranging. So you can go all the way from a van that you've put a bed into the back of, to a Sprinter, to a full-size motorhome. You have pretty much the full range of choices, just like with Airbnb. Now, for this unit and what I've done for this trip is I rented whatever was closest and available, and it just happened to be an ambulance. But I did speak to somebody at Rvezy in customer service, and they said that the most popular unit and the most popular type of RV is a Class C motorhome. Probably because they're the easiest to drive, they're the most user-friendly, they are a camper and a car all in one, and anybody that's on a budget can book that for their family for a weekend trip. So there's lots of different applications for it. So in this video, we're going to run our numbers on Class C motorhomes, which is basically your standard sort of 20 to 30 foot motorhome that has sort of that overhang over top of the driver. It's not going to be the giant square bus-shaped motorhomes. It's going to be a little bit lower price, and the reason I'm going to use that for this video is because the guy at Rvezy said that's the most popular thing, that's what most people want, and that's what the highest demand is for. So that's what I'm gonna focus on. Even though I rented an ambulance for this video, it's because that's just what was available. But as of what I can tell so far, my market research is telling me that Class C motorhomes are where it's at. And when I go onto either of these websites and I look at the availability, the Class C motorhomes have the most limited selection and the most days booked in advance. So I think there's a great opportunity there, and that's where I'm gonna focus. However, you could definitely start with a lower budget or a higher budget, whatever works for you. Alright you guys, so like I said, the goal with this video is to figure out if I want to invest my own money into one of these RVs so that I can make some money on it, hopefully, and have an RV to use whenever I want to go on a trip. Now, I have built a spreadsheet here, so what I want to do is walk you through the numbers that I am looking at in order to make this decision. So here on the right hand side, you can see I have it labeled Class C motorhome, and what I've done is I have found a lot of different people selling their Class C motorhomes, and I've taken down the price, the year, how many miles it has, the length of the motorhome, the condition it's in, and then the link so that I can go back and take another look at it. Now, most of the motorhomes in my sort of price range are anywhere from 23, 24,000 all the way up to around 30,000, and I am looking at motorhomes that are between 15 to 18 years old, because the limit for most of these platforms is that your motorhome or your RV cannot be over 20 years old. And so I'm planning to buy one, use it for 2 or 3 years, sell it, and then upgrade. That would be my strategy. So here's an example of some of the different RVs I've looked at, and then on the left hand side here I have forecasted my income and expenses. And so what I have done here is I've taken the average nightly rate from Calgary, Alberta, and what the average Class C motorhome costs, and right now most of them are listed at around $225 per night, which means somebody is renting this and they're paying $225 to rent this, and then on top of that they're also paying for insurance and roadside assistance if they choose to. Now, this is my fee and what I would be charging somebody, and then the number of nights rented. So this is on a yearly basis. How many nights are you actually going to rent that RV in? So for me, I took a look at how many nights people had rented in August and in September. I kind of backtracked that, and I thought reasonably you could probably rent your RV out for 90 nights between the months of like April, May, June, July, August, September. That's what I was thinking, is 90 nights. Most of that's probably going to happen in July and August, and maybe June and September on the fringes there. But I thought conservatively you could probably do 90 nights. Now, the fee that these platforms take starts at around 20%. Now, if you want to add promotions on there and you want special features, it does go up, but for my math, I'm going to say 20% of the revenue that you're going to bring in is going to go directly to the fees. And that leaves us, based on these numbers, with $16,200 worth of income. Now, let's say that I change this and it went down to $175 per night. As you can see, then it's only $12,600 worth of income. Now, if you're interested, I will link this spreadsheet down below so that you can have the exact same thing and you can plug in your own numbers if you want to try this at home. And so I'm going to put this back to 225 because that's sort of what I'm forecasting. And so again, that leaves us with $16,200. Now, when it comes down to expenses, this is where I'm definitely making some estimates here, because as of right now, I pay about $1,200 per year for my car insurance, and I'm thinking that an RV is probably going to be about double that. So I've taken a forecast here and I've budgeted for $2,400 in insurance. Now, I don't need somewhere to store this because I'm going to store it at my house. I have a little RV pad on the side, so storage actually isn't going to cost me anything, and I am going to budget for a couple of oil changes throughout the year. These are RVs, they're going on road trips, so you're gonna have a lot of kilometers. I'm budgeting for about 4 or 5 oil changes here, and then I'm also planning for about $500 in consumables. That includes things like hand sanitizer, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, paper towel, all the things that the customers and that the renters are gonna go through, that they're gonna use, and that you're gonna need to replace. This includes things, again, like windshield washer fluid. Those kind of things need to be on your list here, and you need to account for those. And then other expenses here. Now, one thing I've learned being in business is that you can't forecast for everything, and you're always going to have additional expenses. So I have budgeted for $1,000 per year in additional expenses, and that brings my total here to $4,500 in expenses for the year. Now, when you do the math on this, we're bringing in $16,200. We got $4,500 in expenses. That leaves us with $11,700 in net profit for the year based on these expenses and this income. Now, if I can purchase a Class C motorhome at $25,000, that would give me a return on my investment in year one of 46.8%. So that would be really, really nice. Now, as you can see, let's say that my insurance instead of $2,400 is actually going to be $3,000. Then my ROI just changed from 46% down to 44%. And so you can kind of play with all the different numbers and variables right here. But when I look at this math and I say, wow, I can invest $25,000 and I can make about $10,000 or $11,000 on that fairly conservatively, that feels like a fairly good investment to me. The problem here is your time and your stress and the customers calling you and the headaches. That is the X factor here. That is what I'm worried about, and that's sort of the biggest kind of concern in the back of my head. So if I wanted to take that into account in this spreadsheet, what is my time and my stress and my headache and all of that hassle worth? Well, let's say that it's worth $2,000 to me over the course of a year. That brings my return on investment down to around 36% and my net profit down to around $9,100. And realistically, if you're going to put your money into the stocks or into real estate or into basically anything else, to get 36% on your money is still a pretty good deal. And so reasonably, I think this is actually a fairly good investment. And so I've got a bunch of different motorhomes that are all listed here. Most of them are a little over 25,000, but I think going into the winter months here and as things start to cool down, people aren't going to want to store their motorhome, which means they're probably going to want to sell their motorhome, and I should be able to scoop one up, hopefully somewhere between $23,000 to $25,000, and then rent it out for $225 a night. That would give me a nice little net profit at the end of the year and a fairly good return on my investment. And then the advantage is that I then have an RV that I can use whenever I want. I can take it out wherever I want. I can block off certain dates and go on any trips that I want. And then at the end of it, as long as nobody crashes and destroys it, I can also sell it in the open market. So that is my math. That is my spreadsheet. That is what I am looking at right now. If you think my math is wrong or you have any suggestions or something I'm missing, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm pretty seriously considering this. I don't want to go out and buy one right away though. I want the weather to cool down. I want to go into winter. And I want people to start thinking about where they're going to store their RV, how much it's going to cost them, and then realize that, hey, maybe it's just better off to sell it because they didn't use it very much. And that's the one that I want to scoop up. That's the one that I want to pick up. And we'll see how it goes. Maybe by this time next year, you'll be going on to Rvezy or Outdoorsy and you can rent my motorhome. So definitely check it out. If you want to see any of the links or any of the spreadsheets that I used in this video, everything will be linked down below. Happy to share it with you. Happy to share my analysis. And I haven't made any purchases yet, but definitely something I'm considering. So if you get any value out of this video, remember to click that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Good luck.